Will, Lee's here. Lee. David's out of town. I don't have my, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Good to go, Lee? Good to go? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the City of Roswell special called Mayor and City Council meeting of Thursday, November the 14th, 2024. I'm Mayor Kurt Wilson. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues and council members present. Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Lee Hills, Councilmember David Johnson is vacationing for weeks on end and has an excused absence. Councilman William Mortland and Pro Tem, and Councilmember Alan Sells. I will now turn the special call meeting over to our City Administrator, Mr. Randy Knighton. Mr. Knighton.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson, and thank you, Mayor Wilson. And good evening, everyone. In accordance with Section Chapter 3.7 of the City Code, the City Council shall hold regular and special called meetings. The purpose of these meetings are to inform the public about items listed on the published agenda. These items are listed on the published agenda, which can be accessed via the city website prior to the meeting. And this is a public meeting. However, tonight is not a public hearing related to the budget. There will be two formal public hearings on November 18th and November 26th. We ask that everyone observe the principles of mutual respect, display the appropriate demeanor during the course of the meeting this evening, which should be and is reflective of this great community. With respect to the proceedings, we ask that attention is given to the person speaking, and if it's necessary to have any independent conversations, we ask that you respectfully exit the rear doors of the council chambers to the vestibule area. In addition, we ask that everyone silence any electronic devices at this time. The mayor is the presiding officer of the meeting and will ensure the orderly exchange of comments and any questions and any discussion this evening. As always, we encourage everyone in the viewing audience and in the room this evening to visit the city website for meetings, events, and departmental information. And we also encourage everyone to participate in the various activities offered here in the city of Roswell. And if you would access Roswell365.com, you will find a calendar of events. There are a number of those events upcoming in the city of Roswell, which promote community, family, and leisure, as we all make Roswell the #1 family community in America. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. At this time, I am very privileged to ask it's Will that's a member of Pleasant Hill. I don't think Alan's a member of Pleasant Hill. But I've asked Councilmember Alan Sells to lead us tonight in the moment of silence and invocation.
Thank you. Please join me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together. We pray that you will bless this time. Lord, I thank you for these friends who are gathered here and for those that we represent and those that are our friends here and represent. Lord, I pray that you will give us wisdom and clarity. May we encourage one another on towards love and good deeds. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Sells. At this time, would you all please turn to the flag of the United States of America and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all so very much. And please feel free to take a seat. This tonight is the presentation of the Mayor's FY 2025 proposed budget. It's a presentation that will be led by our City Administrator, Randy Knighton, and our Budget Manager, Lynn Williams, who will make the presentation. Randy will start the first part of it, Lynn will do the middle part, and then Randy will end the presentation. Tonight is the budget presentation. On Monday, the 18th, we will have the first reading. And on Tuesday, the 26th, we'll have the second reading. Tonight is simply a presentation of the mayor's budget by the senior team. And at this point, Mr. Knighton, I'll ask you to come forward and take the show over.
All right, thank you. Just a moment. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council, and for those here tonight, and also the viewing audience. It's our great pleasure and privilege to be able to present the 2025 Mayor's Budget. I certainly want to begin by thanking Mayor Kurt Wilson for the countless hours that he has spent directly involved in the formation of the budget. I also want to thank numerous department heads, executive leadership team, and finance department for their great attention to this budget. Literally hundreds of hours have been devoted to the formation of this budget, encompassing some long nights, some weekends, some holidays, but certainly when the fiscal responsibility of the city is at stake, it certainly does support those hours being spent. I can tell you that cost centers have been analyzed. Virtually every line in the budget has been scrutinized. Programs have been evaluated, and the proposed 2025 budget certainly does align with the overarching goals of the city of Roswell. So we will move through the budget. I'll provide or speak to a couple of the slides initially, and then Lynn Williams, the budget manager, will speak to the ingredients of the budget as it relates to general fund, enterprise funds, and all of the funds involved in the overall budget. The budget process, which is before you. As I alluded to earlier, this is the presentation, the initial presentation of the budget placed in the public domain on Monday, November 18th. There will be a special called meeting at 7:00 p.m., which will be the first reading of the budget. That will be a public hearing. On Tuesday, November 26th at 7:00 p.m., the second reading will take place. Again, that is a public hearing and adoption of the budget. Few budget highlights. The budget is balanced, and revenues certainly meet expenditures as is required. Obviously, there's not been an increase in the millage rate. That millage rate has stayed the same from the previous year. The city has streamlined operations, has reduced overhead to offset the effects of increased costs due to inflation. One of the major mantras of this budget is organizational alignment, and certainly organizational review and assessment develops the groundwork for efficient and effective workflows and operations. The 2025 budget maintains Mayor and Council's commitment to public safety and maintains top-tier police pay, continues the transition from a part-time fire department to a full-time fire department, which obviously is essential for overall public safety for the city of Roswell, includes pay raises for employees. Also, it maintains the Mayor and Council's very aggressive economic development strategy and approach, and certainly that has played out over the course of the past year with certain property acquisitions, which have been very strategic in nature. It establishes the new customer service center within City Hall, which is an apparatus that is being developed to better serve directly the residents of the city of Roswell as they access city services. Includes 5 new positions for a concrete and traffic calming crew who will construct sidewalks and traffic calming devices throughout the city. Again, that has been a major feature and focus of the Mayor and Council. We all want to slow down Roswell, as the mayor has coined it. Not only slowing down Roswell in terms of traffic flow, especially on residential streets, but slowing down Roswell for people to be able to take in all of the wonderful offerings that we have here in the city, including our historic homes and all of our parks and other public spaces. The budget also accomplishes certain other major features here. Improves fleet management. We're going through a very thorough review and have gone through a review of our entire fleet, and we'll be making some reductions there. Leverages procurement. We want to ensure that the city truly is receiving best value through all of its purchases, acquisitions, and expense on vendors. Realigns departments to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. Integrates economic development and community development. There's a direct tie there, and we're bringing those together more formally. Combines communications and special events, of course. That is very important for the overall branding and messaging of the city. Merges park police into traffic division. Again, that points to traffic calming, that points to slowing down the city of Roswell. Establish a shared services support team, which this will take the initial steps in standing up a shared services support team to be able to support the departments internally within the organization, and that will result in more efficiency and better service to the customers of the city, i.e. our residents and businesses. This is a 12-month budget. I'll remind everybody we made a transition from a traditional fiscal year budget this year. We had a 6-month budget that was approved earlier. This will be a 12-month budget from January 1 through December 31 of 2025. And the proposed budget is balanced, as I alluded to earlier. And we'll walk through a couple of highlights here. Ms. Williams will certainly go into more detail. All funds total $197,025,114. The general fund is right at $104,450,441, and you can see the other highlights there of the budget all the way through capital projects, bonds, water and sewer, stormwater utilities, some of those enterprise funds. Here are a couple of budget capital investments. Road resurfacing at $4 million, which would entail $3 million from city funding. And then the local maintenance improvement grant of $1 million, which is accessed via the state of Georgia. Concrete equipment to support a concrete crew at $319,580. And then parking improvements as the city begins to earnestly stand up a parking apparatus, parking improvements at $470,848. All right, I will step away and allow Ms. Williams to come forward as she walks through the all funds summary. But I would certainly mention again, I want to thank the staff for their excellent work on developing a budget that certainly meets many of the aspirations of the city of Roswell and certainly provides the basic tenets for us to move forward in a manner that aligns with mayor and council objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton, very much. Lynn, you look amazing for someone who hasn't slept in 48 hours.
I know, right? Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So, as Randy has said, this is our 2025 proposed budget. And so I'm comparing all funds and the 24 approved on the left and the 25 proposed on the right. And the reason we're looking at the 24 rather than the 6 month is because we feel like that's more closely an apples to apples comparison of a full year to a full year. So charges, the three largest revenue sources that we have are charges for service, sales tax, and property tax. And this is across all of our funds, including our utility, recreation, and all of the other funds. The proposed revenue in total, 207.2. Uses of funds, we have salaries there at almost 100 million, operating at 47 million, transfers and capital of 49 million. So a total of 197 million. Most of the difference between the revenues and expenditures that's in all funds that isn't allocated at this time is T-SPLOST, so specific to transportation. The full-time position history here, we have reorganized and realigned, and we have We've included 15 firefighters and 5 concrete crew within this proposed budget. I do want to talk about revenue. When you're talking about budget, the revenue is one of the largest drivers of what you can do with what you have. So looking at charges for service over the 10-year history, with the 6-month blip in there, a lot of these charges include the utilities, including recreation and all of those. So charges for service, and this is the 10-year history. Sales tax. This is all of Fulton County, and we get a portion of it. There is LOST, and then there is T-SPLOST. LOST is used for things like public safety, transportation, recreation, and T-SPLOST is specific to transportation. We do have, the 23 was our high year in this, and you do see a little bit of down creep, and that was because of the negotiations on the LOST. This is our millage rate history. The high year in here was 2018, and as we've progressed, y'all have made a concerted effort to lower the millage rate for the citizens on a regular basis. So the M&O is one of the lowest in over 20 years, 15 years. I'll have to write that one down for the next one. So this is what it looks like in a dollar value across the top for general fund. The previous page was both the M&O and the debt service, which only pays for the bond authorized, the voter authorized bond. So this is the impact to general fund dollars. So the revenue, we are projecting in 34.3. Some of the timing of the property tax pulled some of that number out and is going to be in January. So going forward, January to December would be the 34. This is revenue for community development fees. As we re-envision and look at everything that we do and how we do it, this set of fees has not been adjusted since 2019. And so in this, we would like to realign this with our neighboring cities and look at how our costs have grown. The last few years have had large inflationary increases in the general public and some of the contracts. And so we would like to realign those community development fees. There should not be as much of an impact on a single-family homeowner than there would be in something like a commercial or larger growth. So it is modified just to make sure that we are keeping in line with the surrounding cities as well. Fire inspection and fees. So this is a separation of the fire inspection and fees, and this is one of the state House bills that just passed in the last year or two. Looks at these inspections and fees and says that you should do fire separately. So this is the separation of fire inspection and fees this year. This is in alignment with our neighboring cities and our current expenditures and impact on commercial. The revenue for the parking, the revenue fee setting to align with our parking strategies. So this revenue is planned in for 25 and has alignment with that whole strategy and the economic development growth that we are looking to do. The utility funds, we do have some one-time charges that we wanted to look at: capacity meter, hydrant rental for water, and a sampling fee of $200 when they have to go out and sample on bacteria. Back to you. Transfer station, this would be allowing people to come and dump off their commercial or construction grade materials. And then we would like to do charges for non-residents as well there. General fund summary. In general fund, I am looking at $104.5 million in 2025. 30 million of that is coming from sales tax, 34 from property tax, and then business taxes is 23.5. Everything else comes in at 16. For general fund, we are looking at salaries and benefits of 67.5, operating of 19.8, and transfers of 17.1. Within this, a majority of that is going to public safety. So police and fire are respectively 32% and 17% of our general fund budget. So 33 million plus 17 million is public safety. We also have a large portion going to recreation and parks. We also have transportation in there at about 10%. We do have a transfer to capital for the 2.8. This is a general fund summary. I've simplified this a little bit this year, so we can look and see if we like this layout. I've included the general fund balance up at the top of 300, the reserve from last year at 26, or from the last 6 months, 26, and then general fund revenue. So the total sources of funding that we had available to spend was 129,732. Operating, we have 101.1, and then we are going to hold another 25, we're going to hold 25% as a reserve of that big pot that we have in general fund. So that 25% reserve is 25.2, and then capital and one-time expenses are 3.3. Within this general fund operating, we do have a top-tier police pay plan, employee compensation, year 3 of the fire transition, the add of 15 firefighters, add 5 for concrete and traffic calming crew, and a brand initiative. In capital, we do have resurfacing of the $3 million coming from general fund. Part of it is from the fund balance over there in capital projects fund, but it was originally general fund dollars. Concrete equipment of 319, parking of 470. Other funds highlights. So here we have water and sewer. We have sources of funds of 5.9 and use of funds of 5.8. So we do have, most of our water and sewer is water charges, and we do get to administer a little bit of sewer in that area. And this is a small portion of our community. We do have salaries and benefits of 2.2, operating 1.5, and 2.1 of transfers and other. Stormwater, we have 4.8 million of revenue, 4.6 of expenses, and includes right at 50% for capital and transfers. Solid waste, we have 15 million of revenue, 14.3 of expenses. And operating is roughly about half of that. Recreation participation, source of funds of 9.9, use of funds of 9.9, salaries of 58%, and operating of 33. In enterprise funds capitals, we do have a couple of trucks, the scale house, the stormwater master project list of 1.378 million, equipment replacement, and the water fund with water line and then design for the water tank. Hotel motel, we have, most of this is a transfer to general fund, and then the other is CBB, Visitor Bureau. And then the revenue is on the left. I'm going to turn this back over.
Lynn, thanks so much. Great job. Great job to you and your team. Thank you for all the great work you guys have done, the entire team. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, a few next steps. I just wanted to mention that the FY 2025 proposed budget will be available on roswellgov.com. That'll be available tomorrow for the general public to review. A hard copy will be available during business hours in the finance department. And we certainly encourage any residents who have questions to reach out to our leadership team and ask those questions and gain any clarity as needed. The next steps will be in terms of public hearing, Monday, November 18th at 7:00 p.m. and Tuesday, November 26th at 7:00 p.m. will be the second budget reading. and adoption. I'll just make a few closing comments. Certainly, as you were able to hear the budget presentation this evening, as this organization continues to revisit and refine its alignment, this is for us to be able to remain agile and adaptable to changing economic conditions and market trends, to be ahead instead of behind. I would also mention that this group of professionals behind me is certainly committed to relentlessly pursuing each and every day, relentlessly pursuing excellence. And I certainly count it a privilege to be able to work with such a great group of individuals, and certainly appreciate the Mayor and Council and your vision and your leadership as we do all make Roswell the #1 family community in America. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. And this budget will be at roswellgov.com/budget, available when? Is it tomorrow
afternoon.
Afternoon. All right. So to all watching and listening, the budget will be available tomorrow afternoon at roswellgov.com/budget. Does council have any comments, thoughts, or questions on the presentation? Councilmember Sells.
Just a couple questions and a couple comments. I guess I'd start by saying, you know, as a board, as a council, all we can do is sort of sit and cheer. You guys have worked incredibly hard. Really, really appreciate it. Some of us can cheer from past experience and know what you're going through to some degree, but Mayor in particular, you have worked incredibly hard. I'm glad you are. And I'm not, but on that, but thank you so much. You guys worked really, really hard. I was flipping through the deck that we just received. How much lost was lost? I see like about $2 million from 23 to 20 to 25, but I can't find it. Does that sound about right, that we lost in the renegotiation? Does that sound fair?
That actually is not lost from the renegotiation. That's just economic activity.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, we actually anticipated, sorry if I'm interrupting you guys.
You spent some time in this. So.
Yeah, well, we actually haven't talked about the lost side recently. Go ahead, Lynn, sorry.
I think it started around 5% and then it's down to 3%.
There's a graduated scale in the lost presentation that we did 2 years ago that shows the sliding scale. And you'll have to back me up or tell me I'm wrong. We had anticipated revenue levels that we projected for the 10 years from the lost negotiations. All the municipalities, but us as well, we saw a slight downturn, we thought, in year 1 and year 2. I think in year 1, we actually were above the threshold and were net positive. I believe this year, I'm not sure, but next year, I think there's a little bit, that's based upon that's an economic projection. It's not big. It's not because of the calculation continues to prove every year on the sliding scale.
Among the municipalities?
Among ours, just so we're all got it right. So we improve every year based upon the 10-year negotiation. The worst year was year 1. The next year we're year 2. This is year 3, I think, FY25. So I think that's based upon economic activity. That's a projection of economic activity.
I will say we continue to be above what the projections were on that state sheet. So when y'all were looking at that, the estimate of what we thought we might get with the new percentages, and we have come in above those.
That's exactly right, Len. That's what I'm saying. I said it poorly. We've come in above every year above what we thought we were going to receive. What you can see clearly, though, is why am I down in FY25 through FY24? That is an economic calculation of a retracting economic activity.
In the city of Roswell specifically.
In the city of Roswell.
Thank you. Okay. And I see the property tax jump in on page 10 of the deck goes from 29 to 34. That's all due to appreciation and.
No, some of that is based on the timing, because in the 29 in that 6 month there's a public utility that doesn't come in until January. So the 34 is a full year of or the 34 is a full year.
Okay.
It's where the calendar year finally works out for you, right?
I hope so.
Right. And I suppose just a comment or two. Obviously, we're getting into the parking business partly because revenue from businesses is not improving in Roswell. We've got to rethink that. And so, business revenue in general, looking at the stack on page 6, is continuing to erode a little bit. So that is our focus, and we look forward to reaping those benefits in the near future.
No, thank you, Councilmember Sells. Thank you. Sorry, Lynn, I didn't mean to answer that question. I should have kept my mouth shut. Let you answer it. Yes, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify for the public, when we were talking about lost, is the local option sales tax that was negotiated with the 15 cities and Fulton County, just for clarity.
Thank you,
For the
Christine.
public.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, that's always worth, it's to your, it's a foreign language unless you're dealing with it every day. So to your point, you don't know what lost is, but you can see it's a big revenue source for all the municipalities in Fulton County. You want to add anything else? Yes, ma'am. Councilor Sarah.
Not sure who to direct this question to. This might be a Randy question. This might be a mayor question. Is there a reason why all 3 meetings covering the budget are going to be happening during special called sessions? And is there a reason why we can't do the final reading during our regular council meeting on the 25th?
Sure. Absolutely great question.
Sure, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Beeson. Yes, these are special called meetings. Of course, the latter 2 on the 18th and 26th are full public hearings. Certainly appreciate any public input there. The reason why is because there is a requirement that we distance the first reading from the second reading by 7 full days. And so our legal department, Mr. Davidson, has opined that it must be a full 7 days. Hence, we cannot have that meeting on the 25th, which is regular mayor and council meeting. It has to be on the 26th. We had a committee meeting already scheduled for the 26th. And so given the time requirement, it would be held on the 26th at 7 o'clock p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a follow-up question. And I appreciate the answer. That makes sense. And thank you to City Attorney David Davidson for clarifying that as well. This question is probably for the mayor. In terms of this budget and outlining the goals and initiatives that we've just covered, from your perspective, how would you say that the budget aligns with the city's enterprise goals that has been the overwhelming, overarching theme throughout this year, heading into next year?
I'm actually pretty excited about this budget. I think when we started, we basically, and we're going to get into this in the reading in detail on Monday, but from a budgetary perspective, we basically started with $170 million of budget allocations that we had to address. And to put this into a place where we ended up basically at $101 million was an amazing task, I think, by all the senior leadership in the city and the budget team. And to that point, adding very important things, for example, like continuing to fund the full-time fire department, continuing to fund top-tier pay for the police, continuing to fund pay increases for our valuable city employees, continue to bring a brand-new concrete crew on board, to find a way to actually fund. Alan just brought it up a minute ago, and we'll probably go into it Monday. We have very conservative projections on the parking piece. But the city in 2019 said it was in the parking business. And the city's never done anything about it, just said, hey, we're in the paid parking business, but it's never done anything. And it's had a kind of a very hazardous collection method. And so there's an investment there from the city which will pay a very strong return in terms of revenue back to the city. I think in reference to road resurfacing, all of the objectives that I think that you as council laid out, that I think we'll go back over this Monday and a week from Tuesday, that you laid out, that you said, I want to make sure we accomplish for our residents, I think got done. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Thank you.
No, thanks you. Thank you, Sarah. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. You had mentioned the conservative projections on the parking fees, and I know that the parking fees were covered as well, the projected revenues that we're looking to get from that. How are those parking fees projected, given that we haven't yet covered the parking study or set the policy on the city side for how we plan to go about parking fees? So I guess how did they come up with those projections?
From the parking study.
We don't have a parking study yet. I mean, maybe the parking study, I guess, exists for staff, but I would assume that it's the elected body that would set the policy based off of what the parking study indicates, how we should set prices, if any. So I'm just curious how without a set policy, we have projections on revenue.
Well, you have a parking study. You're saying you haven't seen the parking study?
We haven't, but we haven't covered it. We haven't been briefed on it. I would assume the parking fees themselves are a policy directive, which would be set by the elected body. So how are we getting projections if we don't know what our policy is yet?
You mean from a finite perspective? I think that we have very conservative projections in the parking revenue side of the equation. Very conservative,
Okay, so you think that those projections could only go up then?
100%.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. I think, exactly, to your point, when you as a body deliberate on it and say, this is what I would like to have happen, our numbers are intentionally conservative.
understood. Thank you.
No, it's a good question. Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? So on Monday night, we will have the first reading. There will be an incredible, much more questioning and hopefully answers, and much further elucidation of the budget. This is just simply a first presentation by the senior staff. Lynn and team, thank you so much. Mr. Knighton, thank you so much. Monday night, we'll take public comment, as it'll be the first reading on the budget. I thank everybody for being here, and being that there are no other items on this particular meeting tonight, this meeting, Mayor and City Council meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.